Huh? But yeah.
Some of these museums are in high-profile locations in London. Museums like access more philanthropy, they get more footfall, for example, on the tourist trail. We look for ambition, innovation, creativity, resilience, and you can find that in tiny museums as well as in the largest. And it's the question that is sort of very surprising in its answer in a way, and it's actually not very difficult to comprehend how it's organised, because you just look for the very best, you look for the ones that are leading in their field. So they're not the same, the tiny Creighton Museum in Skipton Town Hall with the National Picture Gallery, but both of them have huge ambition and are really delivering for their communities. So more then about Royal Creighton Museum, which is probably the least familiar to people in Fort Royal in particular. One of the really interesting things that local authority funding context and crisis that the local authorities are facing and museums that are funded by local authorities are facing is that Craven Museum and indeed Dundee Contemporary Arts are fantastic examples of local authorities that are invested in museums, and it really shows. So East Yorkshire Council has Craven Museum as part of its operation. It thinks about its community through its museum. It's part of an integrated service. So Craven Museum was able to provide free or across activities and events every day because the school holidays for families, which in the current cost of living crisis was a fantastic thing that North Yorkshire Council was able to offer through the museum. But how many other museums today have seen their local authority funding either cut or axed? It's an increasing problem. The majority of funded museums are funded through local authorities. There are also government-funded museums and funded through the Arts Council, but local authorities provide the majority of funding, of public funding for museums. And so the local authority cuts to museum services and arts organisations is increasingly problematic, and both the civic museums and the independent museums are really feeling the pinch. It's difficult, isn't it? What are the alternatives when councils are facing higher social care bills and multiple challenges? Absolutely, and we recognise that, but investment in culture often represents a really tiny proportion of overall spending, and reducing or removing it has an enormous impact on communities' access to culture and the ability of these fantastic civic spaces to deliver broader public services. And what happens now? You'll go away, do the five on the short list have to do another presentation and try and... Everyone gets some money, I think, and then the winner gets £120,000? That's right, and the four finalists that haven't won get £15,000. What happens now is that I hope all the museums will be very happy and all their local communities will be very happy, but the judges then go and visit all the museums and really have a good look at them and get to understand what makes them tick and what's so fantastic about them. And then we have a very difficult task of making a decision between five fantastic finalists, and the winning museum will be announced on the 10th of July. Jenny Wardman, Director of the Art Fund, thank you very much.
28 minutes past 8. Well, again, Nick, I think that's a seed in certain for Ipswich Town. They're at Coventry for an ultimate victory at the championship seat. And if they win, there's one further point against Huddersfield on Saturday to ensure their promotion to the Premier League behind Leicester. They won 3-0 last night at Preston to ensure their own promotion as the champions. Well, now to women's football, which is certainly developing positively at the moment in terms of player participation at the grassroots and higher wages and attendances in the professional game. But it's also facing a serious negative. The high incidence of anterior cruciate ligament injuries amongst women players now provides a startling statistic with recent research indicating that they occur as much as 6 times more frequently in the women's game than in the men's. And to stars, incidentally, like Chelsea Sandkirk and Arsenal's Beth Mead and Leah Williamson leading that camp. So, why should this be? Well, that's important. Fern Weeders, head of the women's game at the Professional Footballers Association.
It's something that's been going on for the whole time I've been playing during my career, 20 years or so, and there's been plenty to be done, but there hasn't been a lot of female elite players, so I believe that's what Project ACL is aiming to support and to introduce these ACL injuries within the female footballers within the game.
Do you have any inkling as to why it might be?
The big one that is actually part of it is the Q angle of females in terms of the angle of your hips is wider than males, so that makes us more susceptible to pressure around that area in the knee when you're twisting and turning, and why we get these non-contact injuries. So that is also a factor in it. Or the microenvironments that the female footballers play in, which have been typically suited to the male footballer, which might not be suited to the female footballer, just because obviously we can't have females play football because we know they can. We want to try and make them environments as suitable as possible.
Long injury layoffs, of course, are in place, and they have a repercussion too mentally, I think, don't they, for players who are sidelined after months at a time.
Compared to much year I did when I was playing, was sidelined for 22 months, and the impact that has on you as a player is, you can't really comprehend. You're taking away from your job, you're taking away from your purpose. It is a real mental struggle, and it's that you're kind of thinking, will I get back to the player I was before? So that's one of the main reasons we are looking into this so much, because we see it as a player welfare issue, and
Project ACL is, I'm sure, put good intentions, but it will take 3 years to complete. Why so long?
look into the whole list of environments that players can put into. We have to allow time for review and for research as well, but it won't be the players who have to look when we use to kind of create the findings of the research. We're hoping to have review every year.
How confident can you be that in 3 years from now, that statistic about ACL injuries being 6 times more prevalent in the women's game than in the men's game, how confident are you that that gap at least can
that we can actually make some inroads into the actual environmental factors that are going on around football, and in terms of how that can support the players going forward, for sure. We can make recommendations and the confidence of that.
Would you say it's the most professional game?
It is one that players are concerned about, for sure. I think because now we've got more of an eye on the women's game, we know that it happened before when I was playing. The fact that the game is now professional, everyone's can play for the elite athletes who train up to 6 times a week. That is big, and that's something we want to dampen to see if that's having any kind of effect on players and the conditions that they're working in.
Four-time champion John Higgins against Mark Allen, but the people that
Rob, thank you very much. The long view of
taking place on campuses right across the United States. 3 days arguing about the freedom to protest against Israel and Gaza. And those who say they should have the freedom to go about their normal life, to study, to be simply Jewish, and that's an example of trade-offs. And the trade-offs of freedom differ even on campus compared to broader society. I think the right to protest is a very important right. The right to assembly is in our Constitution. There are possible. But within a community like Columbia, we have special obligations. We are a community devoted to scholarship, research, and discussing. And so obviously, it's important that every member of our community feel that this is a place where they can get on a crime and exchange information. There's a professor as against the open protesting streets. Exactly. And some balancing, and that's a really hard challenge. Certainly since I was a doctor of decades of the century before, that's the definition of being a good protester. I look at the school of medicine economics, and we talk about your opportunities set. Somebody who's on the course like this doesn't have opportunity that has to do in order to survive. One of the key ideas here is that there are things that society can do to expand an individual's freedom to do, that we can collectively do things where a little constraint can expand all of our freedom. You look ahead to your presidential election this year. There are many who think Joe Biden can't win it. No, I am very optimistic that he will win. Maybe I have a lot of confidence in the American people. They have a choice between chaos, between somebody who pretends to care about the people, but when you look at his actual policies, they're quite to the contrary. Professor Joseph E. Stiglitz, author of The Road to Freedom, professor from the University of Minnesota, and so many other things that I could list. Thank you very much. Well, thank you.
It is just after 8:45. Health-related emails, including from within the NHS, clinics, charities and support services, are among the most common reported breaches of data privacy, according to the Information Commissioner, who is sounding the alarm today about people with HIV who are having their status revealed, often in emails. John Edwards, the Commissioner, is on the line now. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle.
You reached quite a stark conclusion. People living with HIV are being failed across the board when it comes to their privacy.
Yeah, well, since 2018, we've had something like 19 instances of failures to protect the status of HIV, people living with HIV, and that exposes them to anxiety and stress and sometimes actual physical harm and danger.
And yet the organisations who are working with people who live with HIV, they will be well aware of all of that.
Well, quite so. I mean, I was interested to hear one of your correspondents this morning talking about the importance of privacy and dignity for people receiving hospital care. And that's exactly what people who live with HIV lose when their data is not protected and is allowed to be revealed to those who have no reason to see it.
How does it usually happen?
Well, ridiculously commonly by failure to properly protect emails using the BCC field. We don't believe at all that mass communications should rely on the BCC rather than the CC field. We think other email clients should use bulk messaging, mail merge and the like. But that's a very common mechanism by which data is revealed to other correspondents.
For example, an email might be sent out advertising a generally available support service of some kind, and everyone who they're trying to reach will be in the CC field with their emails and names revealed.
And in fact, the precipitating incident that's prompted us to go public this time was in relation to the YMCA in London, which was offering services to people with HIV support services. They sent an email to 268 on the books. All of those addresses were in the CC field, so any one of those could actually take a couple hundred others. We have £5,7,000, which is a discount to reflect the fact that it would have been up to 300,000 if it had happened in the private sector. But we have an approach which recognises fines away from frontline services, so it kind of can re-punish those who are the victims of breach in the first place.
Just explain best practice, because I think it would be clear to everyone why CC is not important. You say that BCC is not necessarily correct.
Well, it's subject to human frailty and failure to just these skills and paste into the wrong field. So what we recognise that organisations that engage in bulk should use other systems like Cambridge, like clients that do not have the possibility of messaging everybody.
The talk is that John Swinney, a very experienced figure in the party who led it before, so long ago, you could say it was the turn of the century, he led the party, and Kate Forbes, potentially former finance secretary, might be the candidate. What we're seeing then is Operation Stop Kate Forbes. That's what's going on. Very coordinated, very obvious. It's clearly been thought through by the party. Senior figures coming out one after another, some who might have had leadership ambitions of their own, backing John Swinney. Steve Flynn, who was on this programme earlier, getting the British Education Secretary, various others, and the latest this morning, Neil Gray, the Health Secretary. Why do they not want to take Forbes, you might ask? You're waving at me as if that was what you were going to ask. Well, they think she's too far to the right on economic issues and on social issues. There's still angry about the way she crashed Humphrey Houston in the leadership contest last year, where she ran it really, really close. And they are concerned about the direction she might take the party on.
Are we not concerned about her analysis? Because what she said 6 or 7 years ago is we've not done well enough on the basics, and we have to see things that people don't care about, which is
so-called progressive forces. Yes, and there's been a lot of talk that it's really the games where the conglomerate, once they're out of the Yes, because although he's not been in power in office, I should say, for the past year, he was, when that deal with Greens was made, he was Nicola Sturgeon's deputy. He, in that sense, presumably represents continuity. He does. And he's stoutly defended both Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon and the Hunter Youssef as pretty much everything they've done. He's an interesting character because in one sense he's tribal and he takes action in the power. In the other sense, outside, very well liked across the party. But I think that the interesting is, if you look at the broader political landscape, you've been making the point this morning that evolution was supposed to be different, proportional representation, more consensus and so on. I mean, Labour also thought that until nationalism was still dead in a famous state, not just nationalism, other nationalism is not available in these islands. The opposite happened, support for independence rose, and we're now constantly coming back on both sides of the argument for various reasons to that framework, which seems to leave Scotland to a certain extent stuck. Thank you, Dr. Lamona, thank you very much. Let's bring in two other voices to reflect on this. Chris Deering joins me in the studio here in Edinburgh, director of an independent non-party think tank called Reform Scotland and Scotland editor of the New State Committee. And we're joined on the line by Professor Elsa Henderson, Professor of Political Science at Edinburgh University. Professor Henderson, you run this thing called the Scottish Election Study. You're, if you like, the person who's got on the pulse on public opinion. What's it saying now?
Yeah, well, we only have one poll that was in the field while all of this was happening, and the results from that poll are a little bit mixed. It does look like the electorate as a whole was keen for this coalition to come to an end. It's a bit of a mixed reaction from the SNP supporters themselves, but also if you're asking people whether they think things will be better in future without the Greens, then we also see that the SNP supporters are more likely to think that the SNP government will do a better job if they're governing alone, although most likely to say, well, it makes no difference, they were doing a fabulous job anyway.
What about this argument that is taking place inside the SNP and certainly is being raised by critics outside? Forget all this progressive stuff, get on with the basics.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And we have a habit in the Scottish election study of asking people whether they think Scotland is going in the right direction or the wrong direction. And what we've seen since December 2021 is this slow drop in the proportion of people who think Scotland's going in the right direction and a rise in the proportion of people saying Scotland's going in the wrong direction. And that's important in itself, but also we have a follow-up question asking people to tell us in their own words why they think it's going in the right or wrong direction. And if you look at those answers on the wrong direction question, and particularly if you look at SNP supporters, then you do start to see words like woke agenda coming up again and again, particularly from certain types of supporters. So they tend to be male, they tend to be older, they tend to be in social class ABC1. So there's a segment within the SNP that is dissatisfied with the policy choices of their own government. And that's the main trend from 2021.
Let me bring Chris Deering. Dissatisfaction with what that government agenda is. Chris Deering, that's the problem the SNP is facing, which is it's got this massive support electorate as well as thousands of new members, so long as it was a sort of one cause party, independent, that's happened to see the bottom. As soon as they start to do that coalition fragment.
Well, the SNP has always been really a one-cause party. I actually think that the influx of new members has both boosted that passing to independence, but also a lot of people signed on because of the woke agenda, and obviously they've lost a lot of members over the last couple of years as the problems have arisen in multitudes. And so, in terms of what the membership thinks now, I think a lot of the people who joined possibly around 2014, the independence referendum, and after that, a fair number of them have left. And really what you've got left are the hardcore who are to 50% and will be there to thick and thin. And I don't think those people are, they're not daft in a sense. I'm speaking to many people in the SNP, their view is that those members are aware that in the current political cycle, the possibility of independence is gone. There's not going to be a referendum. They do accept it. Yeah, they do. And the Scottish people don't want a referendum anytime soon. They like to keep it in the locker, if you like, in case things go badly wrong at Westminster. But there isn't really a sense that people are desperate for a referendum now. So I think in terms of a reset of the SNP government, I think most SNP members are ready for that and would probably welcome it.
And is John Swinney a man who can pull that off? He looks like a front runner at the moment. He's clearly massively experienced. He's liked, in some ways, tell me if this is the correct parallel, he reminds me of Alistair Darling, rather radical in his youth, seen in much older age as someone who's very emollient, very easy to get on with, a deal maker.
Yeah, there are two John Swinneys, or there have been over the sadly long career that I've had now, one of which is the small T Conservative John Swinney, who was pro-business, probably seen as being on the centre-right of the SNP. Latterly, as James has pointed out, he has been the consigliere of Nicola Sturgeon, pursuing the social justice agenda that she's had. So the question is, I think he will be the next SNP leader and First Minister. I don't think Kate Forbes would run against him, because I think anyone who runs against him will lose. So the question is, does John Swinney come in and reset that agenda? My instinct is that he probably will, because you can't just continue doing what Nicola Sturgeon and Andy Youssef did and expect things to go different.
Just a few seconds for a last word from you, Professor Henderson. Support for independence as high as ever.
Yes, it is. I mean, this is the story. The story is one of declining approval for the Scottish Government, declining support for the SNP as a party, declining support for the Greens in some respects, but independence, sticky as always, it is not falling below the floor that was the 2014 referendum result.
That is the background to all this. Professor Ailsa Henderson, Chris Deering, our own James Cook, BBC Scotland editor. Thank you very much indeed.
And that is it from us. Lots more coverage, of course, of Scottish politics on the BBC website. Our editors, Hannah Wilkinson and Tom Fielden. In Edinburgh with Nick were Laura Cooper and Nadia Jani. The studio director here was Lee Wilson. After the news, it'll be American politics, the long view of it, with Jonathan Friedland. From all of us, have a very good day.
BBC News at 9 o'clock. The contest to choose the next leader of the Scottish National Party has got underway after Humza Yousaf's resignation. Nominations opened at midnight. Kate Forbes, who was narrowly defeated by Mr Yousaf for the leadership last year, and the former Deputy First Minister John Swinney are being named as front-runners. The SNP's leader at Westminster, Stephen Flynn, told Today that the party needed to move forward.
It's been a tough time. I'm very sorry that it's ended in this way. The focus now, of course, for the Labour Party, but more importantly the public country as a whole, is what comes next. And we need to make sure that as a party we are concentrating about the things that matter most. And in order to be successful in politics, you have to meet the public where they are.
The Home Office has admitted it can't immediately locate most of the asylum seekers who've been told they could be sent to Rwanda. More than 5,500 people have been earmarked for a flight to Kigali. Officials say they're in contact with everyone who faces removal and insist no one's missing. Physical checks at the UK border begin today for medium and high-risk food products arriving from the EU. It's the biggest change for many importers since Brexit and is designed to limit the risk of disease. The government says the checks on meat, plants and seeds won't apply to all shipments initially.
He's running for president from his prison cell. That's the scenario it's possible to imagine for one Donald Trump, who last week became the first US president, current or former, to stand trial on criminal charges. Charged with a series of offences relating to the alleged payment of hush money to a porn star. They say prosecutors keep the story quiet during the 2016 campaign that sent him to the White House.
There are a whole lot of charges against Trump, some 91 to be precise, in 4 separate cases. A guilty verdict in any one of them could send him to jail, even as he keeps up his bid to succeed Joe Biden in the Oval Office.
What they don't understand is that I am willing to go to jail if that's what it takes for our country to win and become a democracy again.
Seems outlandish, but is that your assessment?
And a longtime leader of the Socialist Party of America, 5 times.
And I looked at him and I thought, I've lost him. This waking dream of his had overwhelmed our real shared past together. Our stories had drifted too far apart from each other, beyond any point of return. Recently, I've been listening to these recordings of improvised piano. The piano was left in a wood in Canterbury for an entire year. Every month, the artist returned to the piano to record a new piece of improvised music. That year turned out to be the wettest winter in the UK since records began, and you can certainly hear it in the music they made together. I say together because you have to hear these improvisations as pieces of collaboration. The weather speaking through the piano, the improviser responding to it. The keys jammed quickly, swollen with moisture. New ways have to be found that manipulate the strings inside. They were yanked with cables, rubbed with tuning forks, rocking with each visit to the piano. The rules of collaboration change. The sound of the music changes. But the song continues. It took years. I don't know how many. 5 years, 6 years, until I started to understand what had really happened to me and my grandfather that day in the nursing home. Years for me to hear the music playing beneath our conversation. But I think I hear it now. The man I met that day didn't have a grandson, not anymore. Nevertheless, whoever I was to him, he still trusted me enough to tell me the details of his top secret military mission. And there is still a truth in that. I mean, divulging military intelligence to a civilian, he could probably be court-martialed for that. That's a serious offense. But he knew whatever he said to me, he knew I would treat it seriously. He knew to talk to me as a human. Implicitly, he knew that I was on his side. Perhaps I thought about this memory too much. And perhaps my version of the past has distorted it too, but I can still picture myself sitting there next to him, smiling. And though we didn't say any more to each other that day, I hope deep down he knew that my break was over and I went back to work. There was a song he wanted to hear. He could whistle it. I would try my best to play it for him.
That was written and produced by the audio artist Russ Sutherland. The haunting sounds of that decomposing piano come from the project Piano Minutes, which was created by the improviser, artist and curator Sam Bailey. You can find out all about the project at the website pianoinminutes.com. Lastly today, we're about to enter an Glasgow close, as we just called Tenement Steps. I'm so sorry about statements that I just love you so much. It might sound like dances, but I can assure you it's an entirely different and maybe more difficult kind of choreography with a very reluctant dance partner.
We've made press by Steve Atkin. It's the sound of 3 people heaving a baby grand piano up 2 flights of stairs. The piano itself, which is about to make its end of life, belongs to the man who chose this Now, as is things now, and when he died more than 20 years ago, he very kindly and unexpectedly left the piano to clean.
Shortcuts is presented by Josie Long, the producer is Carol. It's a Falling Tree production for BBC
I'm Helena Bonifati, and from BBC Radio 4, this is a brand new series of history's secret heroes.
Who has only one thing on his mind to fight the Nazis?
10 remarkable stories from World War II, individuals who not to be underestimated. You'll hear daring risk-takers. What she's offered to do was to ski in over the high Carpathian Mountains in -40 degrees, mounted at spirited defiance.
The news is dangerous, but still they carried on.
The new series of history's secret heroes. Listen from BBC Sound.
Now head to the Vishwa Hindu Temple in Southall in West London. Find out what each new temple in India tells us about the relationship between politics and religion in the world's largest democracy.
Hello, I'm Charles Scotland, and this is Beyond Belief.
We have 15,000 people from the northern open the door, Malta, the study French, and PE, the school outside.
Sorry, you had 15,000 people here in South West London.
We have a huge program. People were coming in until coming from. That was just amazing. What it reflects, what it means to us, it was an absolute desire that on that particular day, every Hindu cannot be my worker, but we can see the positivity of not only this country, but the countries. You're talking about third generation of Hindu born. They understood what it means to see the fine Lord Ram as we fight.
If you've been at the Vishwa Hindu Mandir, the Hindu temple in Southall on the 22nd of January early this year, you'd have witnessed the culmination of a 9-day-long celebration to mark the inauguration of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya, Andhra Pradesh, northern India. Ayodhya is believed by hundreds of millions of Hindus to be the birthplace of the deity king Lord Ram. Some of those who fought for this huge new temple's construction are describing it as a Hindu version of Mecca or Vatican City. Rajneesh Kashyap, who was behind the Southall celebrations, told me why Lord Ram, the 7th incarnation of the Hindu god Vishnu, is so important to so many people.
Lord Ram is the essence what is Hindu traditions and morality. If a child is born in a Hindu family, the blessing your friend with your Lord Ram. And if you are married, and say your husband is about Lord Ram, your wife will be his father, like a sister. When you're talking about a warrior, a king, and there is it has to be a Lord Ram. If you're running a country, they say you have to run a country like Lord Ram. And when a Hindu takes a final journey, once he dies, he says, Ram Ram Satya.
Ayodhya. This is the moment of religious warfare in Europe. I mean, this is an era of civil war, and this is what gives birth to the so-called modern nation state. Now, the Indian history is entirely different, and most profoundly, in 1947, on the anvil of the civil war of partition, when India is birthed with a majority Muslim state on its borders, India has the confidence to declare diversity and religious pluralism as the basis of its nationality. Now, these are really hard-won battles for India. This is what is being upturned here. But this is a society which houses the second largest Muslim population in the world. There is nothing like this on earth, certainly not in Europe.
So, Ashraf has a hint that secularism may be a sort of colonial imposition. think the nation state is birthed in the West, and it's in position in parts of the world which were previous colonies, is definitely something that emerges in the West. We've never seen these forms of governments before. Secularism is a contested subject, but secularism where religion, just picking up what Prakash said, where religion is totally divorced in every aspect of a consideration, is something which I feel in France with the writings thinkers and writing Voltaire and others. So yes, this is complex and I don't think it has a neat answer.
Shruti, I suspect you might not agree with that.
It's a misleading comparison because the story is slightly different in India. It has never called for the separation of religion from politics. It has always been about the regulation of politics of the nation, which is to say that the Indian constitution takes an equal distance from all religions. And remember that even after partition, India continues to house the largest Muslim minority population in the world, which is to say that the leadership might have been exercising on the board of all the states, but that India continues to be the most multicultural, multi-religious, democratic society in the world, and that is really what is now for grabs at the moment. It's a mistake to say that India derived its combination from the West. It is the opposite, that men like Blair, Prime Minister, had the confidence precisely because they knew Europe so well and European history so well that they founded Indian nationality on the basis of linguistic and religious pluralism. And I think that is what is taking challenge today with a kind of assertive Hindu first policy. And it also, while we haven't gotten the chance to talk about it, but Hinduism itself is a highly diverse religion. It's not simply about a couple of denominations, but the religious practices change very dramatically over regions. And even in terms of, dead, Lord Ram dominates today, but that was not always the case in India's long history of Hinduism.
Prakash, notwithstanding all of those qualifications, it does seem to be that the BJP and Modi in particular is shifting some of the ways in which we understand the relationship of the church and the state. Is that right?
Yes, in a very rough way, yes. But I think there is some underlying problems here that we also find because India is not a culture which has native religions. What India has is something which is much more akin to what the Roman pagans would refer to as their religion or their tradition. And so India is actually kind of displays a whole set of different types of traditions, one among which is the tradition about Ram. And they all come into contact with each other, they all talk to each other, and historically have sparked each other off. And I think if we view what's happening with respect to Ayodhya and so on, with respect to the kind of attempt to touch this element within Indian tradition, I think we're probably going in a better direction rather than trying to apologize for post-independence arrangements and say, oh, well, they're not really a kind of secularism that the British would have envisaged and so on. I'm afraid as soon as you take recourse to the vocabulary of religion versus secularism, you are in the Protestant Reformation framework, whether you like it or not. And so that's why I would insist that the challenge still remains for us, that the post-independence compact, as Shruti describes it, is under question, and I think is rightly under question, because it doesn't necessarily address the kind of entity that Indian culture is.
Can I just bring things a bit closer to home now and just talk about how the effect of these tensions actually make a difference to places in this country? We've heard phrases that feel a bit more aggressive, that have been community violence in places like Leicester and other places. Ashraf, what's your take on how this affects the temperature of parts of our country?
Well, I think it does, because what's happening in India is being watched both within Hindu communities in the UK and within Muslim communities. So the tensions that in fact you just mentioned about the chanting following the cricket match years ago, this has had a long history.
That's victory to Lord Ram, isn't it? That's what that is.
Yeah, it's a slogan which in isolation is a religious slogan, but it's how that slogan is contextualized. And it seems to be appropriated a lot by these far-right paramilitary groups in India, or for a better expression. these are inflammatory slogans for some. Muslims understand what it means. You know, it's attacking them. They're not welcome. They're seen within this discourse as sort of invaders into India, and that's created tension. There are tensions. I need to make this point that it's not just transnational politics that are sort of spilling over in the UK, although there is a huge element of that. But there is also a very localized context to why these distinctions have emerged between, in this case, Muslims and Hindus, and it goes back to the very long sort of history of the fragmentation of the solidarity that Asians and black communities in the UK enjoyed in the 70s and the 80s when they were fighting against racism, and through the sort of state policies of multiculturalism from the 80s, but particularly in the 90s on the New Labour. These previous solidarities were fragmented, and various government funds were given to these organisations, which allowed this sort of separate or siloed identities around religion, whereas previously at one point people were identifying more around the idea of being Asian or being black.
So how do you feel, Prakash, that these tensions that we see in India, this wider sense of communal anxiety about the relationship between Muslims and Hindus?
And I said, as you said, you're in this sort of your work, and I couldn't believe it. I literally wanted to let you vomit with joy. And so, like all the best rock books, in one moment, Brix got her big break. With The Promise of Love, an album, and a record deal, Brix up to move from Chicago to Manchester. When she got there, it seemed Mark already had plans for how to put her talent to use. I think he already had it in his head that he was going to infiltrate it down. When I got over here, the song was recording another album, which was recorded by Language, that needed a track. So he said, can we use one of your tracks? You know, one of the ones you showed me that day. And I was like, yeah, are you kidding me? Within 2 months of being in the UK, Brix and Mark were married. She was 20 years old, and the call was still a dictatorship. But now, there was a second in command. Did you feel like, was it kind of, there's your relationship, and then there's the band, or were the two things very much linked? So he really drew the band with an iron fist. But he deferred to me. For most of it, he would run stuff past me, and I was kind of the power behind the throne. And if anyone needed to get to him, they'd have to go through me. Because I knew how he thought, I knew how to get around him, I knew how to put things without getting things off. When Brix joined the crew, she transformed the dynamic in the band, as well as the music. Brix said that the other members accepted it completely, saw a little idol. But I wonder what it must have been like for them, with a new couple now at the centre. I got a perspective on this when chatting to one member of a different UK band who were also making waves in the mid-80s.
I think because often the couple, when there's the people there, they would, you know, one on the block and be with each other, you know. I was scared, and I remember reading a book together, you know.
This is Simon Raymond, who played this in 80s pioneering shoegaze band Cocktail Twins. He was the only other member in the band, along with couple Elizabeth and Robin. I've been there, awkwardly sat on the edge while your friends are playing footsie and making eyes across the table. So I assumed that third wheeling while you're sharing a boss swing instrument can get uncomfortable. What would that dynamic be with a couple at the time, and what would it be on you?
It was different, you know, for sure, but they weren't hilarious. The mood obviously changed depending on what was going on with them. When you're that age, or when you're just like 21, 22, you're not thinking about how weird this is. You just get on with it. Like the Turner, for example. That record was in 1984, the first time we spent any time together in a month. So we'll get to know each other. They all do. They love each other, so they know each other fine. I'm a bit like a spare part sometimes. And I didn't quite know what my role was at that time. I want to play the guitar, is that okay? Or do I have to ask? Or should I pick it up? And because communication was generally very difficult to use the language, I just still felt like invading this private conversation, this kind of relationship. But I mean, I can't say very quickly.
Having a couple in a band is an odd dynamic. But according to Brix, in the hostile context of life on the floor, her relationship with Mark made things easier for everyone.
So in 1986, Brits had a difficult choice about her future. The decision was made for him in the truth of it, Mark left, he left the marriage, he ran off with somebody else, but he wanted to leave the band. He wanted me to stay in the band and deal with it. How hard was that for you to make that choice? Yeah, because I don't know my mind, or I have to deal with it, but I definitely my mind. It was emotionally painful. And remember, I had gone from my parents' house to Mark's work. I didn't even know how to sign a check. I'd never lived on my own house. I didn't know how to get an apartment. I didn't know how to do it. Just think for a moment about any breakup you experience. Imagine that last moment, except the love of your life is walking away from you with someone else. We'll come back for a second and say, see you tonight. Because tonight, you have a show together. And after that, you'll get back on the bus where you live together. And the next day, you'll spend 8 hours together on that same bus. And then you get back on stage and stand next to them and smile and perform and pretend that everything is okay. Brit Smith cared so deeply about the band that when Mark left her, she didn't quit immediately. Me and Simon spoke about this situation in the context of Cocteau Twins when we met at his record shop in Brighton.
So, 1993, obviously, Robin and Liz split up around that time. How did that change things in the band? Because the band didn't break up then as well, which is obviously think might happen.
Yeah, I thought about it a lot. Why didn't it? And I think what I knew is that it was being in the band that was the most pleasurable thing any of us had in our lives. For making the music work, and we could do without it. Touring slightly different, being in a bus with the person you just broke up with. That can't have been easy. It wasn't easy for me.
Well, what is it? What's going on with him? He said at the very beginning of the tour, a guy came backstage in a wheelchair, and Mark took his hand and Mark was doing it because he had somehow disease from the guy, and he had been washing his hands, so his brain wasn't functioning, and when he could no longer get the disease off his hands, so it's a fake disease, the imagined disease, he began to bite it out. So the sores on his hand was spiked, and he was biting his own hand. There's a legal history on the school's website. Carefully placed staff made up with photos, ticket stubs, and audience accounts of every bit of the case. Around this time, stories began to show up again and again. The band were late, arguing, messing up on stage. On Saturday, the 5th of October 1996, the Fool performed in Motherwell. One fan of the show writes, "As we were drinking and wandering about, we noticed Steve Hanley, Simon Wollstonecraft, and Brit Smith sitting on one of the after benches. Oh good, I thought, my chance to meet the Fool. As I approached, I noticed the long faces and the teary eyes of Brit. Steve Hanley was like, don't leave us, and we're giving off an air of, don't near us. Don't leave us, don't leave this band, we have to remember it. Remember it. And I was like, I cannot do this, and I called the promoter, and I said, get me a taxi to the airport now, I'm sorry. A few years earlier, another Manchester-based band called Happy Mondays had already split up due to problems in the band related to their notorious struggles and issues with addiction. Their singer Roretta remembered some of the worst moments of that period. The story of a rock star destroyed by drugs and alcohol is not a new one.
But that's not to say it doesn't matter or that it should be expected. With phrases like sex, drugs and rock and roll colouring our view of musicians at large, substance misuse by artists has become almost a glamorous cliche. And because of that, I've never really stopped to think why. Jody Milstein and Tamsin Embleton, both part of the music industry therapist collective, have examined the culture of drugs and alcohol on the road beyond musician syndrome. Anger addiction, there's spiritual, there's not feeling a bit into substances or not, or sex or as well. There's anxiety, there's trauma, depression, it goes with all sorts of other mental health challenges. Because there are artists who have addiction issues, unfortunately some have passed away, and it just goes one after another. There's somebody back in the 90s who go back to college into cancer and or due to exhaustion. It was pretty much the acceptable reason. I'd say 99% of those cancers due to exhaustion. It wasn't physical illness, it was emotional, it was an addiction or something like that. I remember as a promoter, I was part of the enabling culture of get the artist whatever they want.
哇！我呢度係咪有意外啊？呢度係咪有 S 啊？呢個埋嘅呢度。嗯？乜嘢？嚇？聽唔到。你話 never mind。Okay.
Having sex under like stage that they worked on. If I play a show and you don't get free bid, I think of that venue as a bad thing where they don't treat artists very well. I've never thought that was odd before, but it must be one of the only jobs in the world where your employers are expected to help you get drunk before you do your work. And this culture has well documented effects.
How could you watch somebody that you love deteriorate like that? You can't stand around and watch that, and you can't pick some, and it hurts you. So in order to save myself, I had to sing, and it was so hard. I never touched the guitar. Not for 15 years did I touch the guitar. I couldn't. It hurt me.
To me, this sounds a little like the relationship you have to your favourite album after a breakup. After every song on the album has been bookmarked are from, and must now be confined to this growing style of music you once loved, but now makes you want to throw up. And to stretch that metaphor to breaking point, in the case of Ryan Busick, you then see that your ex has been listening to those records with their new girlfriend. We've heard Ryan's story over the past episodes, and heard how his mental and physical health issues contributed to him being replaced as the drummer of his own band, Maroon 5, at the height of their success.
It was very difficult, especially at first, to watch somebody else playing my parts in my band. You can imagine, I describe it in the book as like, watching someone sleeping with his wife. He was making the guys laugh. And it was like, watching your ex-girlfriend laughing hysterically for the new guy.
Speaking to Brits next, quite an intimidating experience for me. Despite my best efforts at professionalism, by the end of our interview, I was babbling about my own problems, asking the post-punk icon a relationship advice. My girlfriend is my favourite guitarist in the world, and I refuse to be in a band with her. We should put a band in, I'm always like, I can't be able to say exactly what I think. It's kind of really hard for her to say, hey, but your friend is it possible to have a relationship in a band, and how did you do that, and say that? That is like 75 questions in one. So, okay, first of all, when you're with somebody that you love and you're making music with your lover, it gets very complicated. The highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. But you have to be able to accept it no matter what. Even if the need to be frustrated, we have discussing the worst parts of one another's personalities. I
Got
realized
I
that
think
that
only
thing,
on some of the rides.
the thing that makes them
No,
unlike any other
I
friendship
don't like
or
it.
We're supposed to find the world. You don't have to ride with me. Only on some of them.
No.
If it's
I
too
wanted to
crazy
say
for
thank
you, then we don't do it, okay?
everyone we've had. All the bands who trusted me and heard our stories. And the
Why?
thank you for listening.
It's fun, the world is
Yesterday,
fun.
my drama thinks out that by the time this episode is first broadcast, we'll have just finished our tour. Laughing as we drove back from rehearsals, he said, I hope we don't split up. What about this for Same, I said. It would make a great ending to the series.
Presented by Kitty
Hello.
Barron and Ozzy Yada audio production. Well, the PR awaits when it puts the banners back for a new series in August. Looking ahead to Saturday night on BBC Radio 4.
My name's Abba Supri. I'm a criminal barrister and a former government officer.
How DNA revolutionised crime investigation.
That particularly cool town to show there was one person responsible for all these incidents.
As well as its failings and risks for the future.
When you get huge reliance on things like DNA in the absence of other evidence, it's
Oh,
remarkable
really?
how often those cases go wrong.
佢食瞓咗啊？
DNA, crime and controversy. Me and a secret on Radio 4.
但我哋翻到屋企佢先瞓。
Saturday evening at 8.
Now, on Radio 4, David Yelland and Simon Lewis are back with their weekly look at who's in the news for all the wrong reasons.
Hello and welcome to a new series of When It Hits the Fan, the podcast from BBC Radio 4 where we roll up our sleeves, get down and dirty and take you into the engine room of PR, where the spinmeisters and wordsmiths work to try and change what you think about pretty much everything and everyone. A once secret world which is secret no longer. With me, David Yellen.
And me, Simon Lewis. In this episode, we're looking at the resignation of Hugh Edwards and how the BBC has handled the crisis. We're lifting the lid on the art of euphemistic spin and how the language of PR was used in Post Office IT
做咩？
scandal. And runaway
因為咁講嘢咁，我聽唔到，叫你講多次，跟住話 listen to 咩？
To the radio.
We're starting with one of the biggest crises of the last year, which we have never looked at on Fan Hitters because it happened before our first story
真
started.
叫落嚟。
And that is Hugh Edwards and the BBC.
Minimum an hour.
Of all the constituent parts
You might
that
have
makes
them,
up British
Oh yeah,
nationalism,
good point.
no other organisation.
And you two, Alistair? If I can, I will. Be careful you don't loiter too long in the team room there, Jim. I don't think I follow. Chelsea is working there now. He threw me out yesterday for taking too long over cappuccino. And at the Berrimont, I was about to solve the ancient mystery game, Limbergate. Oh, sounds like Chelsea. Okay, it's done now. Satisfied? Lovely stuff. No, what do you think, Sunshine? I need to get to work. The dancing that story was genius, Linda. Oh, I'm going to be a joke. Oh, don't be too sensitive to your music. Take it in a season professional. So, who was this dancing vet? Jacob or Alistair? Rather you enjoyed the gossip, didn't you, George? You never know. George, in a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. I might have to apologise for my listeners for manner transfer.
Creative temperament.
Don't believe this. What? Jules Summerby is only going to share the video on her social.
I'm not familiar with that.
We've only got 5 million followers. Please, look at that. The views are already in the thousands.
My MD can be useful at times.
And it's not stopping. Oh, Barbie Grundy, you're going to make me a fortune.
You know, I would say a rather marvelous influence.
Jim, thank you, Robert. I've been looking forward to this all day. Cheers. That was in the tea room. I actually did an experiment. Yeah. Yes. I stayed at one table with a pot of tea as my only refreshment for 2 hours whilst reading my book. I waited to see if No, not today. I was trying to discover if it was a new management policy, but you must have simply got your wires crossed yesterday. Chelsea offers excellent customer service at the Orange River. I knew it was really busy. I even have volunteered my table, but that was a critical point with that game I told you about. The one Linda bought you. Yes, she's been asking if I'm getting anywhere with it, and I really thought I was about to crack it until Chelsea stood over me. No. The charcoal tea innocently served, calming rooms, no staff members were prosecuted. Now, Final Four can reveal the important piece of the facts-based monitors. Many of whom were owned to speak. Staff kept their choice. That's Final Four with me, Knowles and Ridge, tonight at 8.
Now on BBC Radio 4, it's time for Front Row. Tom Sutcliffe.
Hello. Long-running acts tonight and getting stronger the longer they run. The British Museum's new exhibition, Michelangelo, The Last Decades, looks at the great artist's late masterpieces. And we talked to Rhys Shearsmith, one of the creators of the BBC's award-winning anthology series, Inside Number 9, about to return to its 9th and apparently final series. We hear from some relative newcomers. Jemba Groove, the Berlin-based Afro jazz band, more from them a little later. We start though with a creative conundrum. How do you follow an act like the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel? Michelangelo, being Michelangelo, came up with another masterpiece, a fresco which covered the entire altar wall of the Vatican Chapel with a depiction of the Last Judgment, a work which provoked both equality, envy, and admiring astonishment from his contemporaries when it was unveiled in 1541. Some of Michelangelo's working drawings for the Last Judgment feature in a new exhibition at the British Museum, which concentrates on the final 3 decades of Michelangelo's life, died